Hey everybody, welcome to the channel and the first ever video for Garbage Sports. Now this is my second channel where I am going to be, like it says, diving into sports. I did do some sport related things on my main channel, Garbage Gamers. However, there's very small things like a couple Madden games and maybe a NCAA college football. But this is going to be the channel where I can really do some deep dives into some different teams and some other sports that I'm not familiar with and really grow and share my interest for sports. What we're going to be doing today is doing a deep dive on my favorite team, the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to be predicting their record by going through their schedule, taking a look at some of the recent news from training camp and injury status and things like that. We're going to be putting them into our tier list. We're going to go through all 32 NFL teams before the start of the NFL season and have a power ranking and a tier list made of each one of those teams. I do not know a ton about certain teams and certain positions, so like I said, garbage sports, they're going to be garbage takes, but this is just something I'm going to do for fun, to share my takes, to also learn more from you guys and your feedback and your takes. So, that being said, let's get into it. We will start by taking a look at the depth chart. I'll see you guys over there. All right. So, starting first with the offense. Obviously, the quarterback position has been the main position of concern and question, with the Colts acquiring Daniel Jones and even Riley Leonard late in the draft. I personally was big on Anthony Richardson coming out of college just for his potential. And I know that's what people say, oh, you got drafted for his potential. Well, there's a reason for it. His arm talent is amazing on those deep balls. It's just that inaccuracy short. And I think if he really did work that this offseason, that he could really surprise some people this season. I am, like I said, big on him, and I really hope that Anthony Richardson is going to be able to come out and shock not only the fans, but also the coaches, the coordinators that have been watching him through this training camp. However, if Anthony Richardson is not the guy, that leaves the question: can Daniel Jones? Obviously, it's a increase in the roster from what he had in New York. Barkley may be just a little bit over Jonathan Taylor, but they're almost comparable. And the Colts have better offensive line, better receivers, and the question is going to be, can these quarterbacks perform? Because at this point with this roster offensively, they have the weapons and they have the talent around them to be able to go out and succeed. Like I mentioned, Jonathan Taylor, he's been a guy, year in, year out. You can rely on him, and he will get you where you need to be. I think he ran for 1,400 yards last season. I'll have to fact check that, but he's a consistent rusher, a guy you can hand the ball to and expect positive yards. He's consistent, he's reliable, and you can't ask for much more than that in a running back. And then behind Jonathan Taylor, we have DJ Giddens, who we drafted late in the draft as well, who could be a guy that steps up and is a great RB2 for us. If not, we have Tyler Goodson, who has been all right at times. He's obviously had some crucial drops, but that doesn't define his career. He's been all right when we've needed him, and he's a guy who maybe can take that step to solidify himself as the RB2. Khalil Herbert is a guy I liked as he was, coming into the NFL. Thought maybe he could do some things. Never really got his footing. So if he could take that step up, be our RB2, that would be awesome. So really, I think it's an open room here for Giddens, Goodson, and Herbert to really make that push for RB2. Our receiving core, I say, is one of the most underrated in the league. Obviously, you have Michael Pittman. He's your receiver one. He's reliable. He's a solid receiver one. If everybody's kind of covered, get the ball to him, see what he can do, and most of the times you'll be happy with the results. He's just a consistent receiver that you're not going to complain having him on your team, and you're going to build around him. Then obviously we have Josh Downs, the guy out of North Carolina. I mean, it's hard to tell really where he's at just because of the quarterback play, and that's true for all of these receivers. And I think that he is going to be great. I think he's going to definitely take another step up if Anthony Richardson, or unfortunately, if it is Daniel Jones. No hate to Daniel Jones, but I really want to see Anthony Richardson succeed. But if Anthony Richardson takes that step, that allows everybody else to take that step. And Josh Downs is one of those guys that will benefit if we can just get a consistent quarterback in there and let him do his thing. Guy I am big on is Alec Pierce. He took that step up this last season. And with the deep balls, the consistency that he gave as being that deep threat receiver, I'm pretty sure he led the league in average yards per reception or something, or target per yards per target or something. Because he's just that guy you can send on that streak, that send on that go and hit him, and he will come down with the ball. Very impressed with his performance. And obviously our receiving depth. Big name right there, Adonai Mitchell. He was a guy that he didn't really do much last year. If you look, he had some great separation from the corner, but there was kind of a disconnect, and he had some drops and whatever else. I've seen some good things in the offseason. Um, if you look through the different training camp thing, Adonai Mitchell having a strong week at camp, you know, but Adonai Mitchell continues to stack strong practices, quietly putting together a really strong week or solid. Oh, here you go. You look again. Takeaways from Colts versus Ravens joint practice. QBs are efficient. Big day for Adonai Mitchell. So you're seeing all these things coming out of training camp saying Adonai Mitchell is taking that step. He's becoming the guy. So if Adonai Mitchell can get up to that level and give a push for one of our starting receivers and really be that guy that can create that separation and allow our receivers to have a great rotation, allow them to play to their strengths and have guys that can fill in for their weaknesses, this team could be really dangerous in the passing game. And that's without even mentioning our newest addition, Tyler Warren, out of Penn State. Got him first round, I think pick 14. Tyler Warren was the guy I wanted us to go in there and get. Tight end was a big issue for us, a lot of inconsistency, and Tyler Warren is that guy that can step up. He can be that consistent tight end, and he can be that game changer. If all these guys are making these steps up and they're all playing to their best potential and they're all working as a team, I mean, Pittman, Downs, Pierce, Mitchell, Tyler Warren, and then you've got Taylor out of the backfield. That is one of the most underrated weapons, like weapon room, of I think in the league. You hear all these people talking about, the Eagles and the Buccaneers receiving core now, and I'm not saying, the Colts are better than the Buccaneers receiving room, but I'm saying you're having these discussions about these different receiving rooms. I think the Colts are one of those sneaky receiving rooms that, they may be, you know, go unseen, fly under the radar, but are going to put up consistent numbers, going to help carry this team. When times get rough, maybe a bad pass here or there, those receivers are going to be guys that can make up for that inconsistency, and just play through it. Obviously, we had some losses on our offensive line, losing our center Ryan Kelly and our right guard Will Fries. Um, Bernhard Raymond, he's a pretty solid guy. I mean, he'll go down there, he'll lock up the left tackle. Quentin Nelson, I mean, I don't even need to say anything about him. You think about best guards in the league, and Nelson's up there. So left side of the line, which for a right-handed quarterback is very important. I think that's under control, and there are going to be guys that'll go down in every play. You're all right. Go through my progressions. I know my left side's covered. Tanner Bordellini, he's a guy who hasn't really seen a whole bunch of time, but he's a real athletic center, and he's going to be the question mark of the offensive line. You know, where does he fall at? Is he going to be really efficient? Is he going to be locked in? Or is he going to have some struggles? Is he going to need some work? Um, Either way, I think the offensive line around him can kind of pick up for his slack, help him out where he needs it, but it's going to be on him. How efficiently does he play? How good is he? You know, all these different things. How does it translate? So that'll be definitely interesting one to see. Same thing with the right guard. You know, how does he fill in after losing our starter last year? How can he step up? So those two guys can step up. And, you know, obviously it's the same thing for every team. Well, you know, if their whole roster steps up, obviously they're going to be good. But the thing with the Colts is they are guys that are good. They have shown good things. They've just, the quarterback has been inconsistent. You know, you've been on constantly rotating, you know, from Ryan to Wentz to Richardson to Flacco to, you know, I think Sam Ellinger got in at one point during the rotation. Like, it's never been consistent. And I know a lot of these guys at this point are, you know, past that. They joined the team past the cycle. Well, a couple of them at least. But it's gonna be interesting to see. You know, if Anthony Richardson can go out there, he can be efficient. If he's efficient passing the ball, our run game only gets that much better. And you know, how does that make sense? Well, if his passing game is a threat, you have to respect the pass. He puts that ball low. You're now having to respect Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson because Anthony Richardson is one hell of a rushing threat. You cannot let him go unseen. You cannot let him go unnoticed or uncared about, or he will pull the ball and be gone. And then obviously Braden Smith had some issues, but I saw he re-signed. I think he's ready to go, and he's a lockdown right tackle. You know, you can't get better than him. Moving on to the defensive line or the defense, sorry. Um, you know, our left ed, Quiddy Pay, Taekwon Lewis, and then the rookie JT. I think we got JT round 2. Yep, round 2, pick 45. He'll be a guy. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. If he can step up, if he can push for that second string spot, push for that spot over Quiddy Pay. I'm sure there'll be some rotation, obviously, and he'll get in here and there, but it'll be interesting to see. And then you got Grover Stewart. You know, you got a guy in there who's going to shut down the run. He's going to be a run stopper. He's, you know, been at the top of the game. And he's going to hopefully stay there and continue at that high level. And with DeForest Buckner, I mean, your defensive tackles are locked down if you got those guys working at high levels, working efficiently, staying healthy. If those guys are on the field, you know, your middle of the defensive line is locked down. You can't really improve off that. Then Latu, obviously the young guy, just, you know, another season. Let him continue to develop. Let him get comfortable in the defense. Let him get comfortable with the NFL, and he could be a guy that could be a beast. Linebackers, you know, McGrone, Carly's, you know, these guys. One of those positions I'm not super knowledgeable about, so I can't really say much about, you know, Cameron McGrone. Just haven't seen a whole lot of him. However, Zaire Franklin is one of those guys that you look anywhere in the organization and it's props, you know, praise. He's one of the captains of the defense, and he's a guy that you can rely on to play that linebacker spot and not have to worry about. And then same thing with Alubi as McGrone. You know, I'm not too informed on our linebacking core. The big thing this offseason was our improvements to our secondary. Our secondary has been pretty poor the last couple seasons, especially in the passing. You know, the other team would drop back, and you know, third down they'd complete a pass, and it was just the norm, and it was annoying. But I think those days are over. Big pickup in Charvarius Ward from the 49ers, and I am ecstatic. I don't think we could have improved the position any better. Charvarius Ward is going to be one of those guys that you can put him on the island and you can let him go, let him play his game. or you can put him, you can scheme him in, have the different defensive schemes, and he will flourish. So he's one of those guys that he's going to bring up the roster around him, just because he's. You can put him out of mind. You can put him out of thought. You can focus on the rest of the guys and let him do his thing, and he will do it. Then Nick Cross, another young guy, safety. I'm big on Nick Cross too. I like Nick Cross, and I really would like to see him, become one of those staple names in safeties when you're talking about top safeties. It would be awesome to see Nick Cross start to have such a season that he gets his name in that conversation. So I don't really think right now, he's great or a concern. He's kind of in that middle ground where he's a solid starter. Where can he go? Another big pickup for us this season was Cameron Bynum from the Vikings. He's going to be a guy that's going to replace Julian Blackmon, and really the ceiling is so high for him. How does he fit into this offense? How can he improve on what Julian Blackmon did last year? And how can he work, with the coordinator, the other safeties, and really improve that position? And then Kenny Moore, highest paid nickelback in NFL history. You don't got to worry about him. Then we have our depth for corners. Juju Brents obviously is one of our younger corners still, and has not got much play time due to injuries. He has been very inconsistent just because of the injuries. He's been hurt for most of his career with the Colts, so you think about question marks on this team, and Juju Brents is one of them, because you really have no clue where he's at just because of the injuries. How good is he when he can be on the field consistently and grow? Or how good is he coming back from this injury? Is this injury going to affect him? It's all those questions. And then Rodney Thomas is a solid backup. Hunter Wohler, I have not, like I said, I'm not knowledgeable about every position on every team, and he's one of those guys that I'm not really sure about. However, Jalen Jones is one of our younger corners, and I am very big on him. I'm hopeful that he can continue to make those steps, grow, and be one of our starting cornerbacks. Be one of those guys that you put him on the island, you let him be out there on his own, you let him lock down that receiver. But it's on him. Can he develop into one of those guys? Can he be one of those top corners, on our team, in our division, in the league? It's just going to take time to see, and it's going to be very interesting to see if he can develop and take that step up to that next level. And then quickly we got our special teams. Rigoberto Sanchez been there for a while. Very consistent punter. Can't complain about him. And then new to the team is Spencer Schrader. But that's the roster, right? A lot of different young. It's a very young team. It's a lot of, can they develop? Can they step into the role? Can they play their role efficiently? So it's hard to properly judge the Colts and make a guess on what their record's going to be. Now we move on to their records. And this is one of, it's hard not to be biased, right? So I'm going to try, obviously, the best I can, but it's hard, especially when you're doing your favorite team. Week 1 against the Miami Dolphins. Man, see, it's difficult. I think at home, with the different struggles Miami's been having with the receiver controversy and just their consistency of play recently, I know it's been definitely hurt because of Tua. How is Tua going to play? How is he going to step in? But with it being the Indianapolis Colts home game, I am going to give the Colts the Week 1 win. Week 2, we have Denver coming into Lucas Oil. They're one of those teams I feel have a lot of question marks around them too. Kind of like the Colts. How well are they going to play? How are they going to come out? Where are their strengths? Where are their weaknesses? But with that being said, last year they did have the third best rush yards per game. and we know the Broncos have a great defense. So if they can go down and shut down the Colts run game, which I feel will be one of the Colts' strengths, I feel like the Denver Broncos could sneak out of there with the win. And for that, I'm going to give the Denver Broncos the win. Week 3 at Tennessee. Obviously, the addition of Cam Ward, Tyler Lockett, some other different players added in, but you look at them as a team, and they were towards the bottom rush yards per game allowed on defense. Offensively, one of the worst yards per game. So how much of a step is this team going to take with Cam Ward with these new additions? And I don't think it's going to be quite enough. I think the Colts are going to get the win over the Tennessee Titans there. Away, rookie Cam Ward, still not a whole lot of threats around him. I'm saying 2-1. Colts moving on to week 4 at Los Angeles. Los Angeles Rams are one of those teams, middle of the pack. They're going to be a team that's going to put up a fight in every game. They're going to sneak out with some. They're going to let some slip away. Obviously, Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. With the addition of Devontae Adams and the loss of Cooper Kupp, it's kind of an interesting switch if you ask me. But that's one of those things that you'll just have to wait and kind of each year see how the Rams are. So it's hard to kind of figure out where the Rams are going to be. Looking at it, they're middle of the pack statistically last year. In Los Angeles, I think maybe the Rams do sneak away with that one, putting the Colts at 2-2. Like I said, I'm kind of being hard on the Colts, trying not to get that bias in there for them. So that's what makes it a little bit difficult. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders are obviously a team that have not been great. Added a new coach, Ashton Jeanty, obviously their headline draft pick. Geno Smith came in free agency, though. They have grabbed a couple different guys there to boost that offense, but I honestly don't think it's going to be enough. Right? At the end of the day, the Raiders are the Raiders. So I think the Colts are going to get away with that one, putting us up to 3-2. Arizona is another team like the Los Angeles Rams that are going to compete year in, year out. You never know where they're going to be. They're going to sneak away with some. They're going to let some slip away. I think of like mid teams, big question marks. Are they good? Are they not? Who knows? And it's Rams and Arizona Cardinals, right? They're right there in that kind of group. But at home, coming off the Las Vegas win, I think we get another one over the Cardinals, putting us up to 4-2. Week 7 at Los Angeles, coming off a 2-win streak. I don't think the Colts have it. Justin Herbert is obviously one of those very consistent quarterbacks, and they have made a lot of moves to bolster this Los Angeles Chargers team. They have a rookie running back in Omarion Hampton. They grabbed Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. So they've got the rookie help now, kind of helping those positions in need. So I think with that extra help, plus the Chargers are going to be one of those teams that'll just fight till the end. You can't get away from them. They keep fighting. They're kind of up there with the Rams and the Cardinals, and they're one of those teams that no matter what's going on in their season, no matter who's hurt, no matter what their record is, they're going to give you a fight. And I just think being away and having that veteran as Justin Herbert in that quarterback spot for them, that they will come away with the win, leaving the Colts at 4-3. Week 8 at Tennessee, we kind of already covered them, and we're at home this time. I am hopeful that the Colts can come away with the season sweep over the Titans, pushing us into our Pittsburgh game. So let's start this off. I think Aaron Rodgers, at this point in his career, is overhated. He's definitely taken a step down from where he was, but that's expected with age. I do not think that Aaron Rodgers is as poor as a lot of people expect or think he is or is going to be. So now you've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got DK Metcalf, they've got a great defense. Obviously, TJ Watt and one of the better defenses in the league, and that's just going to be a hard one. And it's in Pittsburgh. I think that's one of those games that is going to be rough. But you never know. I'm hopeful, but I am going to have to give the Colts a 5-4 record at this point. Lost to Pittsburgh. Now, there's a lot of people high on Atlanta, thinking they're going to be one of the teams that come out and surprise. I'm not necessarily sold on that. I think Atlanta's going to kind of stay at that level they're at, maybe take a little step up, but I don't think that they and the Colts are on the same level. Obviously, they've got Bijan Robinson. How well can he step up? Big question. How does Michael Penix Jr. run the offense with a full season, not having to switch with Kirk Cousins halfway through the year and get him out of the way? This is Penix's team now. How can he run this offense? Does he get Kyle Pitts involved? If Kyle Pitts makes that leap that everybody has expected him to take since he got in the league, that could work wonders for him. But with what the roster is now, with the coaching, with everything, I do think the Colts are going to get away with a win, put us at 6-4. Then we got our bye week, and then we play Kansas City week 12. Now, the Colts did upset the Chiefs last time they played, but late season, Kansas City in peak form. I don't think the Colts have it. The Chiefs are still Super Bowl contenders, so I think we lose that one. Then we got the Texans, and they're a team that's going to be interesting. Obviously, you got C.J. Stroud. They lost Stephon Diggs, but then they drafted rookie Jaden Higgins, and they brought in Nick Chubb. So they Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and Dameon Pierce, who's kind of been disappointing. They did get rid of their stud right tackle in Laramie Tunsil. So now they've got a guy I personally haven't heard of. How is that offensive line going to hold up? Is that something we can take advantage of? Is that something that is going to hurt CJ Stroud? Because a lot of the guys, I'm not sure their skill level on there. Defensively, Derek Stingley Jr. They got EJ Speed from the Colts, one of our guys that we had a starting last year. They brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety. They've got Jalen Petrie, Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter, Henry To'o, Aziz Al-Shaair. They've got a pretty good defense. And coming off the loss to Kansas City, I see, that momentum that we've already lost, that negative momentum, kind of snowballing on us, taking us 6-6. Jacksonville, I think we finally break the streak in Jacksonville. We break what we haven't been able to do in so long. We pick up that 7th win and we ride that out. Seattle, Sam Darnold, I think, is going to be very disappointing. I think that Tyler Lockett loss wasn't that huge of a deal. It's going to allow JSN to step up. But DK Metcalf, obviously, has parted ways. The Seahawks have done a lot of weird things, bringing in older guys. They brought in Cooper Kupp, obviously, and the Marcus Lawrence defensively. A lot of older pickups, but I don't think they're going to be that great of a team this year. So I think the Colts pick up their 8th win there, leaving us at 8-6. Same as the Seahawks. I don't think the 49ers have really improved. I could be mistaken. I'm not 100% certain on everything they've done. But I see the Seahawks and the 49ers both being teams that take steps down this season. And coming off the momentum of the Jacksonville and the Seattle win, we pick up our 3rd straight against the 49ers at home to go 9-6. Then the Jags. At home, we beat them once in the season. We're on a big win streak of 3 games. I think we make Jacksonville our 4th, leaving us at 10-6. And then we go to Houston. This one's a hard one. because I'm not sure of where the Texans sit, how that offensive line plays, how Jaden Higgins is going to play, how Joe Mixon, how Nick Chubb is going to play, who's going to get the carries, and how efficient are they going to be with those carries. But like I said, I want to keep it unbiased, try and get a realistic prediction here. And for that, you already gave kind of a iffy game against the 49ers. Am I underrating them? How are they going to be? Same thing kind of with Atlanta. I don't think that highly of them, but a lot of people do. So I think just to play safe here, I'm going to give us the loss over the Texans, leaving us at a 10-7 record. So with that being said, Colts obviously, since they're the first team we've done, we get to now put them into our list, and they're going to be a playoff caliber team. I think that they are going to, like I said, be 10-7, maybe be a wild card, maybe sneak in there. But I do think they are going to be a playoff team. So we are going to put them in here since they are the first team we have put in. They are currently number one in our power rankings. So that's how that is going to be until obviously we start getting the other teams and everything else put in here. With that said, though, I think I've covered everything I wanted to go over in this first video. Kind of got the format down, and I hope to be doing this with every team in the NFL. Obviously, going over each team and each position in as much detail as I can, put out what I think about them, and maybe from your guys' feedback, learn something I didn't know about a team, about a position, about a player, and really grow my knowledge as well as hopefully grow yours. Maybe you didn't know so much about the Colts, whereas I don't know so much about, say, the Texans, for example, and you know about the Texans. That kind of exchange of information is going to be amazing. So, hope you guys enjoyed this kind of unique style of video. I've never done something like this, so it'll only get better the more of these I do. And throughout this football season, I think this channel is going to get a lot of the focus. Instead of garbage gamers, instead of the gaming, that I think is going to be kind of not pushed to the side, but it's not going to be the main focus. And I said at the beginning, this was my second channel, only because of the order they were made. This is something I'm more passionate about, more interested in, and I think this could be a very cool thing to start getting into and start producing these types of videos. Make sure if you guys enjoyed, you hit that like button, you comment down below the next team you want to see, or just some of the opinions that I had that you maybe disagreed with or agreed with. I thank you guys so much if you're still here at this point in the video. Make sure if you want to see some short form content, you check out my TikTok. It'll be linked. And I hope you guys have a great day. I will see you in the next.